Go.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Louped In, the podcast where we take you behind the scenes of Liam and the Loupes, a children's book series close to our hearts and created for families navigating life with autism. I'm your host, Austin Spiro, and I'm here as always with the author of the book, MJ Lopez, and we have a special guest with us. It's the other half of this duo writing the book. Krystal López is here with us today.
Better half.
And this is episode 3, and we're so glad that you've joined us. And whether you're just folding laundry, driving to an appointment, or just taking 5 quiet minutes to yourself, we're here to keep you company with stories and progress updates and peeking at how this book series is coming together, from scribbled notes to something we hope will truly resonate with families like yours. Today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit more about how this book is created from the perspective of Krystal, and we're going to give you a little more progress with the book, and we're going to give you some of those messy moments that come along with raising and living with neurodiverse kids. So take a breath. You're in good company, and let's get looped in. Melvin, how are we doing this morning?
I love those intros more every day, man. I'm telling you, I'm doing great so far. And I am so happy to be here sharing everything with our listeners. We're doing really well, and I am glad to have the other author of these books, this series, my lovely wife and better half, Krystal López. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
All right. So this has been pretty exciting, I would guess, for you two writing this book. So why don't we talk about it from your perspective, with this whole process. How did you get started with this?
Well, I guess we should probably start with my first introduction to autism. So, I'm a mental health therapist, and autism is something that we learned when in grad school, but it didn't really hit home until I actually met my husband. I've worked with kids and adults that have autism and officially diagnosed with autism. But when I met Melvin, he did not have a diagnosis. And he had told me many times how difficult it was been throughout his life to connect with people, to have people kind of understand his point of view. And the more that I got to know him, the more that I was like, have you ever been told you might have autism? And he was like, I don't know. I was like, I think you got it, man. And yeah, fast forward, I think a couple years, it took some time to find an actual psychiatrist who could diagnose an adult, because that's very difficult nowadays. We have
Yeah.
so many adults that never got diagnosed in the 80s and 90s, and now we're trying to function and realizing, hey, I might have autism. But finding an actual psychiatrist that's doing diagnoses above the age of 18 is very, very difficult to find nowadays. So we finally found one, and yeah, I was correct. Melvin did have autism. And I think for him, and I mean, he can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that was a big weight off of his shoulders to be able to understand that I'm not a problem. There's nothing wrong with me, because there is nothing wrong with anyone with autism. It's just the world, you see the world in a different way. That's it.
Right.
So yeah, so after that, being together for 6 years now, we have gone through a lot. We've even have our own boys that have been diagnosed with autism. So we've gone through the personal channels of trying to figure out insurance and where you can get your kid in without a wait list that's, over a year long. I mean, we can definitely feel the sentiment of other parents who struggle, getting those resources for their kid, let alone just a diagnosis. I mean, that's been really hard for us, you know.
Right.
Um, and then I think just the good heart that Melvin and I have, just seeing so much about autism that isn't really correct. A lot of people have a notion that, if you have autism, you can't function at all, and like you're entirely broken, you can't fit in society, and it's not that at all. And so this is kind of our way to show, hey, someone with autism isn't any different than anyone else. They can enjoy a baseball game just like you. Just because they need a couple accommodations doesn't mean that they don't enjoy the game.
Right.
It's just a little bit different. And just to kind of help support other parents too, because it's really a lonely thing with parents. um, dealing with a kid with autism. And here's a
Right.
perfect example. Here is Mateo, one of our little ones. You want to say hi? No. He does not want to say hi. But he is one of our little
That's
ones that
reality.
is also been diagnosed with autism. And he said hi. You said hi? Okay, he said hi. He doesn't want to come close to the camera though. And so, we've dealt with the tantrums, we've dealt with being embarrassed in the middle of a store, being kicked and yelled at and embarrassed. But, when I see other parents going through the same thing, I kind of just go like, I see you. Like, I'm not judging because I know no better. We're just doing the best we can as parents. But yeah, so that's a little bit about us and I guess our side of the autism aspect when it came to kind of creating the Lupins. So
Mm,
yeah.
that's awesome. So, how do you what do you feel is the difference when writing this book? Because we've talked a lot with Melvin about writing this book from the perspective of somebody with autism. How did you approach the book from somebody who is a mental health expert but doesn't have autism?
Yeah. So the autism aspect, he really pushed the forefront of that. All right. Shh. Mommy's talking. But what I wanted to ensure is that we had all of the behaviors correct, as well as all of the accommodations correct, that they fit. I wanted to make sure, and Melvin was really good at it too, that we kind of showed the spectrum of autism, because that is a spectrum. If you've met somebody with autism, you've met that one person with autism because no two are alike.
Yeah.
You know, and so we just wanted to make sure that, and I ensured as well that we had a little bit of everything. We have somebody who, down the road is going to be deaf. We have somebody, who maybe outwardly doesn't express emotions, things like that. And in each one, there's a different accommodation that needs to be presented so that when the parents are not only reading the book for like relational value, they're also learning little things that they can do with their own children. Like, oh, great idea. Yeah, I didn't think about it. My kid can enjoy a baseball game so long as we have, really good headphones that, muffle the really loud applause. There's little things that we might not think about, that can accommodate our kids. And I want these books to kind of give that assistance to those parents. And that's kind of where I come in. And yes, these are Mateo's lovely headphones. No, these are yours. Okay, thank you, baby. And so little things like that is what I want to ensure we implemented within the book. Just things that could kind of assist the parents that might be struggling with some of these behavioral aspects of kids with autism.
Right.
Well, the other day, I showed all these books that we are using to write these books. These are all hers. Like,
Oh
don't
yeah.
don't let her understate how much these books that is I am using her library. I am relying on myself for inner experience. I'm relying on myself for inner experience, but all that clinical experience that's in the DSM-5, all these books, all these definitions, all these markers
Let's
or
go. Let's
diagnose,
finish talking, and
those
then
all came from
one
her
later.
because I'm not gonna read the whole thing by
Right.
myself without knowing where to start. And she told me this is where you look, this is what the criteria is for a diagnosis, this is what and the criteria for a diagnosis is right there. And like she said, we just wanna write this from the perspective of parents, but parents who are also struggling, because one thing that she can tell you that I despise as a parent is parenting books that want to put parenting in a little box, and they
Right.
want to make you feel bad if you don't fit in that little box. I Hey, listen, if you're out there and you read parenting books, that is great, fantastic. As long as it's research based, and as long as it's look, Mateo's up here right now. Look, here he is, right here. He's with me now. I tell you, she's downstairs and I'm upstairs, and now he's gonna go downstairs. This is reality, folks. We can't even get 5 minutes. We've been on the air for what, 10 minutes, and he's already has a need to be with his parents. And if we had a person babysit him, because a lot of parents are gonna be like, why don't you just get a babysitter? Well, where's the money coming from? And second of all, the babysitter, we're not gonna pay $25 an hour for someone to be miserable, because it's just gonna be she's gonna have a really he or she is gonna have a really rough time. So we just wanted to show people the reality of it. And
Right.
we are like we want people to know that we want these books in schools. We want them in autism centers and everything. And this is not just two parents doing it, it's a parent who experiences it and a parent who has clinical knowledge about it. So it's a good synergy, it's a good mix, and we're really excited about it. So yeah, that's kind of how this all came along.
I love it. I love it. So, since you both are still on, we can talk a little bit too. I know you guys have
We're probably gonna
extended.
stay because now we figured out a way that he can stay entertained. So he's going
he's
back
just
and
gonna
forth.
he's just gonna keep doing stairs, right? Um,
Make him
uh,
tired.
He's having his PT. He's doing his exercise. So
right. So let's talk a little bit about how your reach is kind of extending out there a little bit, especially in the state of Tennessee. If I'm understanding this correctly, you both now have become ambassadors for an organization, an autism organization in Tennessee. So why don't you both talk about kind of your involvement with this organization?
yeah, absolutely. I can start and then I'll pass it to her. Um, our we wanted to get together and do volunteer for Autism Tennessee. Is a great autism nonprofit in the state of Tennessee, and it's not national yet. I wanted to pick one that was a little more more local. It's not even in all of Tennessee yet. It only has the reach in Middle Tennessee. So hopefully, they'll be growing more. And we are community ambassadors. If anybody needs any resources or any resources, any autism places that they can take their children to, any providers, then we could assist with that. And where Krystal comes really handy, and I'm going to let her explain, is when parents need tools for school. What kind of tools would those tools that parents need for school? She's really good at those. So she can tell you exactly what we're gonna be doing with those parents in Autism Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the things that I have a little experience with is working for the school system. When I first moved to Tennessee, I couldn't find a job as a therapist, so I worked as a behavior interventionist for the Clarksville
And by the
community.
way, that's where we met, but that's another story. But that's where we met. And when so there's a little bit of
That
there.
is,
Yes, go ahead, keep going.
yes, it's a little romance. Um, and so one of my jobs was to ensure that the kids that had special needs had the paperwork that to support their special needs, so they had the resources and accommodations that were needed. One of those being an IEP, and ensuring that those things were up to date, and not only that, but ensuring that they were being followed within the classrooms. And so this summer we're going to try to create a small little meeting to help parents understand their rights when they have those IEP meetings, when they realize that their kid might need a little more support, because there's a lot of parents, and the school's not going to tell you as much as I'd like to wish they would. They're not going to give you everything, but we want to give parents all the information, all of their rights, all of the support that they have within the school system. And so that's one of the little things that myself and Krystal, the other Krystal of Autism Tennessee, we're going to try to do probably by the end of this summer, just to have those parents that are going, getting their kids, maybe their new kindergartners starting out, making sure they have all that support that they need.
That's great.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Also, I'm gonna be trying to do something with a very forgotten groups, a very large forgotten group, and this is Spectrum Dads. Because if you look at any social media, and this is just statistics, folks. This is not feelings.
And
This
Melvin
is
knows
not,
his statistics.
and I know my stats. This is what I do for a living. Um, I know, and this is if you go to any autism organization, any autism nonprofit, and click on the likes, on the followers, and I guarantee you, you're gonna see a big tendency. You're gonna see a big tendency that most of the people who are involved with autism are women, and it's moms. And
Yeah.
go to an autism group and somebody, hey moms, hey moms, hey moms. So I would like to involve myself in getting gentlemen, we need to get more involved in this because I should not, I can, I should not be only talking to women about autism because and this is again part of what we're doing with Liam and the Loupes is that because when we're running, let's say we're running ads for Liam and the Loupes, if I set the ad to reach women, the ad is going to perform better than if I set it to reach both. And that is a fact. And if I put the ad to reach men, it's going to perform worse.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, we need to get involved more, and that is what I'm going to try to do with that.
Yeah.
And Krystal, I know you're Austin, you are an administrator, so you've been in these IEP meetings. You
Yeah.
you are an administrator, so we're trying to do you a favor in informing parents, because how many parents do show up deer in the headlights? I have no idea, because these things were totally unknown when we were
Yeah.
small. So
Yeah, I was gonna, speak on that actually. It's very interesting, and I love what you guys are doing here because as an administrator, when I sit in these IEP meetings, the first thing that we go over is we slide them a parent copy of their rights. But there's so many rights that they have, and there's so much information that these parents are getting at these IEPs, especially if it's what's called the initial IEP, right?
Mhm.
The initial testing, you're getting all of these stats, you're getting all of these, all this data thrown at you,
Oh yeah.
and then at the end of it, it's your child qualifies for an IEP under the qualification of autism. And there's so much information that, these parents forget, what their rights are. So, as an administrator, I tend to try and repeat especially the big ones for them. You have a right to call an IEP meeting whenever you want. You have it, all of this different stuff.
Yeah.
And it's amazing the different, the deer in the headlights look that you were just talking about, when even just talking about their rights, parents that have had IEPs for years, sometimes they're like, I didn't know I could do that. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
you can.
Oh yeah.
You can. Parents, they have way more rights
Then
you
they
know,
realize.
than they realize. And to Melvin's point as well, most of the IEPs I sit in, it's usually mom, and we're
Yeah.
usually pretty surprised when a man shows up.
Oh yeah.
At least I am anyway. They'll be like, "Oh, dad's going to be here today," or "Grandpa's going to be here today," and I'm like, he is like okay, like
Yeah.
cool, awesome, but it's very far and few between. I sat in probably over 100 IEP meetings this year, and I can count probably on one hand how many men showed up,
Yeah,
right?
and as a therapist, the same as what I've noticed when I was having our autism kids, come in for their regular therapy sessions. The
Yeah.
majority of the time, it'd be grandma with them or mom with them.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, and it could be for a very number of reasons, right? It
Oh
could be
yeah.
they're at work, it could be they don't know, or it could be,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's so many different reasons why they're not
Yeah.
there. But
Yeah.
the common want there is we want you there.
Yeah. Oh,
the
definitely.
reason is irrelevant. The
Yeah.
reason, we get it. The
Yeah.
reason is irrelevant. However, you need to be there, my man.
Yeah.
So that is why characters like this gentleman behind me come in,
Yeah.
because this guy right here is the next character that we have revealed. His name is
Yeah.
Bernie, and I wrote him because
No, it's not plugged in. It's okay.
the reason I wrote him is because I want him to represent the parent in the spectrum, the parent who is 100% totally lost. Listen, it's a lot, and there's many needs, and there's a lot of parents out there that may say, "Wow, my kid has autism, but he has a lot more needs than this other child with autism." Yeah, that's very valid. That is very true. There's some children with autism, again, that if you read the DSM, part of their diagnosis required minimal support, and then another diagnose is requires significant support. So there's differences there.
Right.
We should not, just because we should just not stop trying. And we need to, Bernie Loup, who is Liam's dad, who's right behind me, if you're looking at me in YouTube, and by the way, please subscribe and hit the little bell and all that. He is going to represent a dad that doesn't have all the answers. I don't think, and I appreciate TV dads who have all the answers. I do. I really do. I appreciate the Cliff Huxtables. I appreciate Philip Banks, and I appreciate this Seaver. All these guys who had all the answers. That is great. There's a place on TV for that. That is not reality. That is not reality. And reality is that there are no answers when it comes to parenting because, as Krystal and I can tell you, we have 5 children. Child number one is going to be totally different than child number 6 or 5. It's how it is. And it's pretty much you start over again when you have children. And yes, as I said earlier, there is a lot of value in parent books, but I would not get too fixated in one box because everything there is to be written about parenting is not going to fit in one book. So we need to open up our minds a little bit and realize that as long as you stay on this side of legal and you're trying, you're succeeding at parenting. You see what I'm saying? Unless you're beating up your kids or unless you're abusing them in any type, either verbal or the really ugly kind or physical, unless you're doing those things that are really causing trauma on children, mom, dad, you're pouring the hole, you're passing. It's okay, but you got to try. And that is why a lot of times that is what these parents are gonna obviously Liam's gonna have a mom too but we haven't talked about her yet. We haven't revealed her, no spoilers. But Liam, I released them because on Father's Day. And why didn't I release Mom on Mom's Day? But because I didn't have the idea. Sorry. It's what it is. But I'm gonna release Mom last because she is the rock of that whole wolf pack. But back to Dad, they're gonna represent the parents that are just sometimes parents with autism have to rely on their children for answers, and that can be very humbling for people our age.
Yeah.
Kids are very smart these days.
Yeah.
And if you have a child with autism, you're gonna get outsmarted a lot sometimes because they are much more aware of the world today than we are. So, and it's very humbling. Having a parent being a parent to a child with autism can be very humbling, and we deal with a lot of discrimination, not discrimination, but a lot of the looks, the oh my goodness, she's just gonna let that kid. If I would have talked like that to my dad, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Let's have that, and
Don't
that's
touch my things. No,
just
put them back.
just be very. We need to be more empathetic to parents with autism, and it's like I'm talking to myself because when I was not even aware of what autism was,
Would you like one?
that
Then you
parent too,
ask.
they'd be like, "Oh my goodness, how is that parent going to let that kid raise his hand and throw that tantrum? And how is this parent going to allow this child to talk to them in this tone?" And then I started reading, and I realized, well, it's like there's more
No.
there's more here. So we are going to write these characters from that perspective.
I need two. I need two. I need two. So can I have two?
Sorry, Mateo wants a glove.
No,
Okay,
you're good.
you can mute yourself, and then we
Two.
can hear him.
There we go. I'm gonna do that. Sorry, y'all.
There are two plus. Thanks, Mom.
It's all good. Hey, we want our listeners to see what reality is, and this right here is reality.
Right.
We are always with a kid on us, and that's just one of them who has autism. We have another one who has autism, but guess what? How many people have you met with autism? If you met one,
You've met one.
the other one is like a cat. You'll never see him. He doesn't like the attention that this one does. He's not, but that's just who he is.
Yeah.
And we are so happy that this is going on because it's the reality we want to show our listeners and our readers.
Right. It's funny because my girlfriend and I, we have a 5-year-old that's here. She's not here today. She's with her dad, but it's funny because I think, having the kid in the house, I think I've said, I don't know what to do more times than I care to count. And I mean, I'm in the school system, so it's like, sometimes I feel like I need to know what to do. Right. And sometimes I'm like, I don't know.
Not right now, baby. I changed.
Yeah, you're a teacher. You're supposed to have all the answers, Austin.
Yeah. So, it's amazing how many times you learn from kids. And I think how much you're humbled by kids, whether they have autism or, they don't, or they have something else, they have anxiety or something else that's going on. Right. It never ceases to amaze me how much kids humble you, and you're always learning.
That's something that you said, Austin, because you're like, I don't know what to do. And I think the person here who gets more humbled by that is my lovely wife, Krystal, because people look at her and like, aren't you a therapist? Aren't you, you're supposed to know what to do. You have all these books and you have all these degrees. You're supposed to know what to do. Krystal, what do you tell to parents like that?
Oh, yeah. No, the first thing I tell them is that I'm just like you. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm doing the best that I can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
It's
and that was something that I was intentional about with these books because I did not, when people, and which kind of ties into my my pen name and everything, because when people realize that this is two parents writing a book, I don't want it to be like, oh my gosh, here comes two other parents with a bunch of trying to tell me how to raise my kids, talking to me from up here, and I will repeat this. Krystal and I, we grab our hair, we have no idea. Our kid, one of them hits us, we get spat on, we get told we are the worst parents, we get threatened and told, well, I'm going to hit you, I'm going to bite you, or I'm not going to do this. No, I'm not. Yes, that is us. And that is what we want to do. We don't want to write these books from up here. We want to write them from your level. Yes, Krystal may have all these letters behind her name qualifying her, but sometimes what happens? Nothing.
We don't know what we're doing
We
and
don't
we
know
are
what we're
so
doing. And you know
lost.
what, parents? Sometimes I have to. How many times have I looked at you, Krystal, and said, you know what? Today they win. I'm done. How many times
Yeah.
have I said that? Have I said that
Yeah.
to you? You know what, mi amor?
Yeah.
Today they win. I'm done.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We've said that before. So we're
Yeah.
not better than anybody. We're
Yeah.
just trying to have some representation out there of what it's like to be a parent and a sibling and a child and a classmate to a person with autism.
Yeah.
yeah. So moving on a little bit from the parent aspect and our new character there, Liam's dad. He's standing in what looks like a bedroom. So would you say that that's
That is Liam's
part of the book?
bedroom. Yes,
Okay.
that is. I am going to show it for those. If you want to know, if you want to go to YouTube and look, I'm giving you an actual sneak peek of. I'm giving you a sneak peek. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show you. You should be looking at it. You should be seeing it right now. That is Bernie standing inside Liam and Abby's room. Do you see the bed on the left? The bed on the left is it's Abby's room. The bed on the right is a little different. There's a purpose for that. That is Liam's room, Liam's bed. They are littermates. Abby and Liam are littermates. That means that they were born at the same time. I did a little bit of wolf biology on that one because sometimes the rest of the pack has to come together and help the pups out. You see, and that is biological. That was intentional. But if you are looking and if you see Bernie's picture in social media or in the website, Bernie is literally standing inside Liam and Abby's room. So that is an illustration. That is not. That is a little sneak peek of the real book, Liam and the Loupes, Liam's Day Out, who that is coming out again April 2nd, 2026. And I promised him I would give him a plug. A Bernie was brought to life by our illustrator, Shawnee, who is a great dude. He lives right now, he's probably asleep because he lives in Pakistan. But we're gonna have him one day. Hopefully, Austin and I can drink some coffee and stay up on one of these Friday or Saturday nights and talk to Shawnee live. He's a great
Mhm.
dude. He has a daughter and uh, he's doing an amazing job with these illustrations. Uh, and I told him that I would give him a plug again because without Walt without U by Works, Walt Disney doesn't exist. So
Mhm.
that is my little plug for the our illustrator Shani. And you can again, if you look at Bernie's where he's at, he is literally standing in their room. So you have a little sneak peek for the book right there.
Very nice, very nice. So, illustrations on its way. It's looking pretty good, but from what I understand, we're rolling. We're on to the next
We're
book. Yeah.
about three-quarters of the way. Like we are ready almost. We should, keyword being should, be completely printed by before the new year.
Very
So
nice.
we are rolling and hopefully we can keep going. Here soon, Shawnee is gonna move from illustrating the book to laying it out. That means putting the words where they're supposed to be. Also, putting the like the layout of the book, kind of like, okay, it makes sense to put these word bubbles here, or it makes sense to put these words here so the reader, it's a little easier for the reader to follow. Because sometimes, I'm gonna be honest with you, if you're reading kids' books out there, sometimes they can be a little hard to follow if they don't have thought bubbles. They're like, wait a minute, what do I read now? So
Yeah.
that's when a guy like Shani comes really handy, and we thank him for all his contributions, and we look forward to keep working with him. But yes, I wanted to give him a plug because, um, yes, Bernie, Liam, all the loops, they are my creation, they are my thought, but he brought them to life. So I can share them with him. I can share credit with him on that. So he's doing an amazing job, and I really hope that it continues.
Great. Awesome. Uh, and from what I understand, you have a new pen name.
Yes, because I wanted to, make things a little more marketable to children. I'm going to be writing under the name Lupito, which keeps with my real last name, which is Lopez. So Lupito really means little wolf, really. It's because I'm the youngest one of my family, and I'm not very little in real life, but compared to a full-grown man, yes, I am. But I wanted to go under that pen name Lupito. And one more announcement that we just got that I did not have a chance to write you on the script of this show. We have been copyrighted. We
Nice.
our first book and our first characters have been copyrighted. And for those of you who want to, if you guys don't mind, I can. For those of you out there who are writing books, you may want to do that. Copyright them. All that means is by the time, look, here's how copyright works. For those of you who are out there uh, writing, if you write something on a piece of paper, it's already your creation and it stands in court. Well, how can you prove you wrote it first? You see what I'm saying? You're going to save yourself a lot of trouble. If you just copyright it over there, it has the date that I thought about it, and they check it for you that it's an original thought. And then afterwards, you can trademark, and that's different. So, copyright and trademark are two different things.
Right.
Uh, but we are working towards them one step at a time, one inning at a time, one pitch at a time. So, we are really excited for those news that we are getting. We also are some of our proofreaders at Autism ETC, also Dr. Rebecca Townsend, who is the person who diagnosed me. She's also reading through Liam and the books, and they're going to give us some feedback to kind of like, hey, this is some really nice, this is something really nice for for families. So
Right.
we want to get as much feedback as we can from professional sources
Yeah.
that are not Krystal, obviously, because obviously she's a little biased, yeah, about her own creation as well. But we're a lot of really good things are happening. Liam and the Loupes are getting more involved in our community, and it won't be long until we're over there with you in California, Austin. You're gonna see us. You're gonna see Liam Loop one day in a store over there, and you're gonna be a part of it, my man. So.
Krystal, I'm actually really interested to get your perspective. We went in the first episode of this podcast, we talked a lot about from Melvin's perspective how the book writing and the book production process was for him and his perspective and how he felt. How have you felt about this production process of the book?
Yeah. Oh, it's been new. It's been exciting. It's been oh man. It's I would say it's like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
One moment, because it is something that we're doing together, but so much of the imagery is from Melvin's beautiful mind. And I just to see the things that he has depicted, and now I'm helping him draw what he's thinking. I help him draw now what he tells me to draw. I try to put that imagery into a piece of paper, and just to see how well he's thought everything through. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So the ride it's an adventure. Yeah, it has been an adventure. But
And
yeah.
Austin, I'm gonna give you a little example.
yeah.
Because and I'm gonna do it from baseball because I know you and I are baseball fanatics.
Mhm.
Um, you know how detailed I can be, right? Um, I've learned that sometimes you have to back off a little bit being detailed in books because the message of the books is what really matters. Um,
Mm.
I picked up a baseball book the other day, right? It's a book that's been published by a big publisher. I'm not gonna say which one. Big publisher, one huge publisher. And it was a book that had illustrations about baseball. And if I really wanted to nitpick about it, I would. Why? Because they had a left-handed catcher. Because the home plate in one of the illustrations was backwards. Because they had an illustration where the runner on third base is standing on third base, taking a lead, and he is on fair territory. They had another illustration where the batter was hitting and one foot was outside the batter's box. But if I
This is all
wanted to
true, by the
nitpick
way.
at all that, if I wanted to nitpick at all that, we'd still be writing that. Those people would still be writing that book. At some point,
Mm.
it becomes about the message. That's what I wanted to say, you know. So
Right.
that's something that I've learned in like the past 3 or 4 hours, honestly. This is something that just sunk in. At some point, Lupito, it has to be about the message and you gotta quit nitpicking. So I'm getting better because this is my first time. So
Right.
and I don't know. I know I can be very abrasive when I get my mind into something and when I get an idea in my head, and she can attest to this. I always told her I'm gonna think of something one day that's gonna stick, and I really hope it's been this, but it's been a very I can understand. I can see myself, and one thing that my therapist always told me was you need to understand the effect you have on people. You can be very you can be very you can when you get your mind fixated on something, you can be very draining on people. So I have to watch myself too on that. So yeah, I really hope that this experience, please stay with the project, okay? That's what I wanted to say. So
Well, before we part, do either of you have any parting words for our followers?
please subscribe. Please. Okay, stay because this channel and this channel on YouTube in the future, it's where Liam's gonna be animated. So we are looking ahead in the future. So please subscribe, please share with your friends. And again, this is not about a book for kids with autism only. This is a book for all families. Even if your family doesn't have anybody with autism, number one, you probably do. Number two, your family can learn how to better accommodate families with autism. And your family can also help people with autism with resources. You know, if you have a neighbor who has a child with autism, you don't have to have a child in this with autism to know where they can find some help. Oh yeah, I know a place where they have autism therapy. Oh, I know a doctor in town who diagnoses. This is a book for all families. If you have a sibling with autism, which is Austin's case, you can learn how to understand your sibling better, or your neighbor, or your friend. Those are my parting words. This is not a book for children with autism. This is a book series. This is a universe, a loopiverse of this is for everybody. Everybody can learn a little bit from this, not just children with autism. And I'm gonna pass the ball to the smartest of us, to the smarter between me and her, and she's gonna give you her parting words.
All right. Now, I just want to thank everybody and thank you for letting me be a part of this podcast today. Sorry, I'm not really sorry, but welcome to our life with kids. And I really hope that everybody continues to follow this adventure. I know every week it's something new for us, and I'm so glad that we're able to share the adventure with everybody. And I'm excited every day. I'm excited for what the next week is going to bring for us. So yeah, follow. Let's see
And
what
we got more
happens.
characters coming too. We're
Oh
not
yeah.
done. We got more
Yeah.
characters. Obviously, you know, there's I could have thought of a single dad or something, but I wanted to keep it. No, no. Every wolf has an alpha male wolf and an alpha female wolf. And if you don't like that, that's you're gonna have to take it with the people who are the authority of books
Yeah.
about wolves because that is how they are. So yes, there's a mama wolf, but there's also other characters that are coming. So we are really excited to also be putting those characters out there. And let's see. Hopefully, next time we all get together, I can give you a little more. I'll give you another illustration somehow. But yes, uh, thank you everybody, and thank you for this experience, and thank you for your support, and thank you Austin for taking time of your very busy time over there, because I know, man, you're resting, right? I don't want to remind you that summer's almost halfway over, but I'm gonna
Yeah,
have
right.
to anyway, right?
Oh,
It seems.
How is that? How is the recharging of the batteries for a teacher in the summer? Go ahead, man. Tell me.
Oh, yeah, I think, it's funny, people ask me before, what do you educators do on, on summer? And it's like, well, I'm an administrator. So I didn't leave before, when the kids left. I stayed a week or two after. And that was probably busier than when the kids were there. Because you're preparing for the year, but now that I'm on summer vacation, it's we're going to be taking a trip here pretty soon. In the next couple of days, we'll be flying out and, taking a nice relaxing trip. And then, I'm just kind of recharging, doing whatever I need to do,
Hey,
to,
thank you for what you do, man. We both have been in the school system, and when people tell me thank you for your service because I'm a veteran, I do the same for teachers, man, because ah, I tell you, I've been in there and I know the challenge it is. It's only getting more challenging. Thank you for sticking it out, man. I thank you for staying in the school system, and we're doing what we can to educate parents and educate non-parents and educate the populace, so those IEP meetings are a little less challenging for you, because the reality is, parents, schools are very understaffed. They're doing what they can. Okay, a lot of times our school. In my real job, I work for the Department of Labor in Tennessee. That's my real job. Pet teachers are very understaffed. If you are out there and you are 18, 19, 20 years old and you want to be a special education teacher, I know about 5 universities that will pay for you to be a special education teacher. That is how understaffed they are. So be
yeah,
patient with schools and parents. The more you know, the better your experience with these schools is going to be.
all
Parents
right.
sometimes are very quick to say, my school didn't help me, but did you bring them anything? Did you at least bring a skeleton so they could put some meat in it? So that's what we're trying to do here, trying to
Yeah.
educate parents on how to bring a little bit of something to the school so Austin and the SPET team can work with something. Fair enough? So that's where we're at.
Well, with that, thank you all so much for listening to this podcast. Please make sure to follow and subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast, on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you're listening to this podcast. It is very greatly appreciated, and the following is growing.
Thank
And
you.
for my friend here, Lupito, and Krystal, and our very special guest, Mateo, I am your host, Austin Spiro, and now you have been looped in. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.